In this video, we're going to cover some of the new updates that came out as part of Power BI's September 2023 update, including updates that they made to the mobile layout, some changes that they added to the MINX and MAXX functions, as well as this new linguistic relationship for Q&A feature. All of that and more, so without further ado, let's get started. Hi, my name is Fernan, and welcome to the Solutions Abroad YouTube channel, where we cover tips, tricks, and best practices when working with Power BI. I upload new videos every week, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to get notified when a new one is out. So let's start with this new update to the mobile canvas in Power BI Desktop. If you didn't know already, this is the view that lets you preview your reports in a mobile layout friendly version in Power BI Desktop, which lets you customize and preview how it would look like on a mobile device. Or from this update, you don't just preview how your reports look like in a mobile layout, your buttons, slicers are also interactable using this view as well. This lets you test the interactivity of your reports, so your buttons and slicers, and see how they behave before you publish them into the service. This also lets you do what you couldn't do before, which is to adjust your tables within your mobile layout, so sizing them or even sorting them, which you couldn't do before because it was just a preview, but now with this interactivity, now you can. There's been some update on the smart narratives as well. So it looks like from this update, you can now show results in either a numeric or a text format. So before, when you ask a question to this smart narrative, it will always only show you a numeric value. But now after this update, you should be able to see some text values as well. So Smart Narratives is a pretty neat feature that lets you summarize your data quite easily using just a simple click of a button. There are many ways to use Smart Narratives, so if you're interested in knowing what it is and some of the different ways that you can use it, I covered it in a separate video if you want to learn more about it. The editing your model in the Power BI service have had a small update as well this month. So previously we were limited with our data model layouts, whereas if and when you customize them on the service and download it as a Power BI file and open it in desktop, those changes won't be saved, and vice versa if you do it the other way around. But from this update, it looks like that limitation is now gone. So if you make updates to your data model layouts, maybe create new views or adjust how they show up on these views, they will be saved so that when you download them into your Power BI reports in Power BI Desktop, they will preserve those layouts as well. So editing your model in the Power BI service is a relatively new feature that was released just a few months back, and it basically signals the end of having to use Power BI Desktop for your transformations and all your reporting development. However, there are some limitations currently with this feature, which I have covered in a separate video. So if you want to learn more about it, and if you're not sure if you should be using this, check out that video first so you know what the limitations are and why you shouldn't sort of use it at the moment. The Q&A feature have its biggest updates, at least from my perspective, this month, with the ability to add linguistic relationships on top of your Q&A models in Power BI. So when I covered the Q&A feature a few years back, if you didn't know already, it's a feature that lets you ask natural language questions, which then gives you some answers. As a customer, it's quite useful, especially if you want to just know or answer a certain specific question. And Q&A feature had a lot of customization options available to you. One of them is the ability to add synonyms so that when your users are referring to certain things named something else in your model, this allows them to ask those questions in a more natural language format as opposed to having to refer to them as how we refer to them in the data model. So with this new linguistic relationships addition to the Q&A setup, it makes Q&A an even more attractive feature to use in production. So basically, it looks like it lets you define, various things like adjectives, objects, or indirect objects when certain words or phrases are used. And these settings let you create relationships and to those things to the question that's being asked. This makes the question asking more natural in Power BI, and it helps Power BI understand the context of those questions so that it can try to find a best fit for the questions that you've asked. Now, while this isn't as sophisticated complicated as other tools like ChatGPT, it does provide you with a lot of control and fine-tuning options that lets and helps your results kind of have a closer match to what your users are asking for and what they're after with the knowledge that you have about data sets and the business. And from this update, it looks like the Power BI team is investing quite heavily on the Q&A feature, and in the coming months, potentially integrating some AI features to make this an even more seamless experience. So since it's been a while since I covered the Q&A feature, I'll see if I can cover it again in the near future with some of these new updates that have come out. MINX and MAXX now both have an additional optional parameter that you can add at the very end of them. It's essentially a Boolean parameter that lets you set it to either true or false, and it lets you control how you visualize text or Boolean values into your results in these iterator functions. So if you just use the MINX and MAXX functions as normal and you don't add any of these parameters, it will just ignore these text or Boolean type values. So it will just leave them as blank. Whereas if you set them as true, you will see that now it includes in the results the text values, still ignoring the Boolean results. Editing relationships in the properties panel is now generally available in Power BI. This feature lets you edit your relationships directly from the properties pane in the model view without having to open up that window where it shows you a preview of your data, having to select the relationships, loading that data, which might take some time, and then hitting OK, and then letting the data model load. So this way it lets you just stay in the same panel, change and update your relationships from the side panel, and then once you're ready, hit apply, and those changes will be applied to your data model without having to open and do all of those clicks. You can now test a role in the Power BI service. Now, for me, especially who creates a lot of role level security, this is a really handy feature. So from what it looks like, you can now in Power BI service choose a report to view, then have a way for you to choose who you want to view it as, depending on what role you have, and then see those reports as if you were that person assigned to that role. Role level security is a really handy security feature that lets you control what data your users are seeing in the same reports based on the role that they've been assigned to. This is really handy if you want to create the same reports but with different limitations to different groups of people without having to recreate or duplicate that report altogether. If you want to learn more about RLS and how you can implement it, I have covered it extensively in a separate video. Paginated reports are now supported with Git integration. So the Git integration is a feature that was released a few months back, and it basically now allows you to commit paginated reports into your repositories the same way that you can do with any other item within your workspaces. There were also some new other features that were added in this Git integration this month. One of them is this checkout branch that lets you create a new branch based on the current state of your workspace. Another one is this switch branch, which lets your admins change the connection of your branch using this new feature. Versioning reports is really helpful when you're developing reports, which previously didn't really exist before in Power BI. So if you're not really sure how these work and how you can use them for yourself, there's a step-by-step guide that you can now check out to see how you can utilize this as part of your development process. I'll leave a link to it, as well as the blog post for the September 2023 updates in the description box below. Thanks for watching as usual. Give this video a like if you found it useful. Give it a dislike if you didn't, so know to do better for next time. Ask your questions in the comment section box below so I can help you and you can help others. If you like this video, we have a Patreon page where you can support the channel and get exclusive perks like early access, demo files, and credits at the end of these videos. Thanks again for watching and see you in the next one. Bye bye.